All right, can everyone see the PowerPoint? I'll just bring
Yes,
it
we
up
can
here.
see it.
Okay, guys, so first things first, AMWPA, I'm sure most of you are familiar with our organization, the American Muslim Women Physician Association, primarily based in Texas, but technically we cater to everyone everywhere. This is an organization founded by women in medicine to empower women and to empower communities. So our focus is education, mentorship, and community well-being. So some of the things that you may have already been involved with, or maybe you have yet to be involved, but you should be, is our local health fairs. So once a month at a different masjid, we do health cares and focus on preventative medicine. So that could include a lipid panel, mammogram, fitting children with bicycle helmets, or just basic counseling on the day-to-day struggles of life, whether that be from a mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual standpoint. Alrighty, everyone. And then to begin, I was trying to think about what quick surah to do for today. And I thought about Al-Asr, so we'll do that first. Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. So this surah, which I know everyone knows it, but I think the meaning nowadays is more important than ever because it kind of starts not necessarily negatively, but very bluntly, in that we are at a loss. And it is when we are at a loss that we must hold on to the things that make us gracious and good, the things that make us kind to one another. So I think in uncertain times, whether that be from a financial standpoint at these big turning points in our life or otherwise, we have to hold on to each other, look to one another for guidance, and try to weather the storm as a community. Does that make sense? Alrighty, so let's go ahead and dive into here. Alright, and everyone can see the presentation, correct? Okay. Alright, so building wealth and security early through healthy habits. So my name is Stephanie Albana. I'm a current PGY1, soon to be in about 2 weeks, PGY2 at University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston, Texas. Alright, so a little bit about me. Enjoy the AI generated art. I'm not sure if it's AI. Technically, it was done by someone through Etsy, but I'm sure there's some AI in there because now there's AI everywhere. But yeah, I'm a resident here at UTMB. I went to college on a few scholarships at UT Arlington. The biggest ones were for GPA and also for my class rank, and then also for my activities with Key Club, with NHS, and also with student government and uh, one other organization, the American Red Cross, also gave me a scholarship because I did blood drives for 3 years straight. So I was very, very active in high school with the goal of trying to minimize the financial burdens of college because I knew that there was not a bundle of money waiting to pay for my college, that I needed to earn a scholarship in order to be able to afford to go to college. I also went to Texas College of Osteopathic Medicine, about 25 minutes from my house. A big goal with all everywhere I went to school was I want to be able to commute the least amount that I can and spend the least amount of money on cost of living. So that was something I prioritized early on. And I also worked in medical school, which I don't recommend, but I understand that we don't all have the same life path and we have different trials. And in my path, work was necessary, but it did help. I'm a current resident. I make $67,000 a year before taxes. I take home $4,100 a month in my paycheck, and I split that up between my fixed costs, which is what I call in irons. That's my cost of living. And when I say cost of living, I mean the basic needs. So my rent, my utilities, and then as cost effective as I can be with my groceries. So those are fixed costs. But yeah. And then I also focus on investments. I invest in the ORP, which is the optional retirement plan through my work. I work at a 403B. If you know anything about investment plans, that basically means I work for a hospital that is technically a nonprofit since I work at a community hospital. I put money in, my employer matches, or actually matches a little bit more than what I put in, and I max that out every year. I also have a Roth IRA. We can talk a little bit more about what that means. I have a high yield savings account and a health savings account. All right, why should we do this? Why start early? Because it all builds. I know that we've all been raised by parents that told us every penny counts, and I can't tell you how much that will mean to you in a decade. If you start thinking with that mindset early on, then you will be less likely to fall into those traps that people end up regretting for the rest of their lives. Whether that be a credit card with a high interest that you put too much money on and then you're not able to pay it off and you're stuck in that debt cycle, or if you invest in private loans for school that again puts you in a debt cycle with a high interest that you're never able to pay off, or even just giving into a splurge mentality where it's like, okay, I've had a bad day, I'm going to reward myself by spending money. You're actually rewarding yourself with future pain. So we're going to talk all about that stuff and about how we want to do things in moderation, the same way STEM teaches us to live life in moderation, to not be excessive in our wants, not be excessive in our supposed needs, but to really take a look and say, like, the simple life is technically the best life. And we're going to do that for our future selves too. Alrighty, I know that technically this is supposed to start with college, but I wanted to just give a shout out to our folks in high school. And also, this is pretty much where I started whenever I was in high school. So if you haven't started to do these kinds of things right now, and you're in college or you're in med school or you're in residency, go ahead and start doing that now. I want to emphasize that first bullet point, practice delayed gratification. For me personally, whenever I want something, I'm not going to go to Amazon and look at that thing. That kind of reinforces what unfortunately we've created as a society, which is not being able to wait and wanting things in the immediate future so that we never really learn to appreciate what we have. So, like, delayed gratification means, like, yes, you have something you want, do not get it at that point in time. Think about it. Do I really need this? Will it actually benefit my life, make my life better? Will this be something that benefits me down the line? And then if you still want it, then you can work towards that thing. But the big thing is to not impulse buy. Impulse buy, that voice in your head is never the wisest. So, and a big thing, if you haven't already, look into the difference between checking, savings, debit cards. Look into what a credit score actually means and how it's calculated. The biggest resource actually on here that I still use to this day, and I first looked at when I was 14, 15 years old online at my school library, was the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So you can just Google that, go to their website, and they have whole sections devoted to teaching people at a fifth grade reading level how to understand these basic principles of personal finance. And you can go into the specifics of how to and what to look for. And this is a third-party organization that is just designed to give information. They don't have any disclosures. So things like that. So make sure the people that you're talking to,
Stephanie,
even
your screen sharing stopped.
oh, that's so strange. Okay, just a second. All right, friends. Oh, ignore all my emails. Let's see. Oh, I guess you guys can't see my screen, so you didn't see a thing. Let's see. Share. All right, are we back on? Oh, look, see, I have the CFPB already up. So this is the website I was talking about. And as you can see, the last thing I looked at that it automatically went to was mortgages, because this was the first place I went to whenever I wanted to buy a home. But that's the thing, consumer education, you can look into anything from auto loans to bank accounts, credit cards. And this includes like the safety profile of different credit cards and lenders. Looking at, well, this is getting into the itty gritty, but student loans. This is a big one that I encourage everyone to go to this website and read and study. Okay, can everyone see my
Stephanie, it
screen?
stopped again.
Oh, that's really strange. Okay. I guess, do you want to try to pull up the
Yeah.
PowerPoint and then I can just
Okay.
have you move from slide to slide. And I'll send you this link in the chat real quick. Share, copy link, done. And honestly, I was gonna send this in the chat later anyway, so everyone can peruse. All right, the link is in the chat.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes. Yep, we can
And
see
you
it.
should be able to control it as well if you want to try that.
Or I can move the PowerPoint. I'm not able to move the PowerPoint forward, but I guess if you want to just go to slide, I believe we're on 4. Yeah, slide 4. All right, great. Okay, big thing, and so those things on the side in yellow, I bolded them because they seem very simple, but they're actually so important. Like learning how to cook a few low-cost meals. I've probably saved myself tens of thousands of dollars just over time, just because I had learned how to buy groceries efficiently. So that means like before I go to Kroger, I go through the app and I clip my coupons. And it seems like something that, oh, that's too much work. It's not. It's 5 minutes of my day before I go to the grocery store. And I go to the grocery store usually with a plan. Sometimes that plan will change because I'll be like, all right, fine. If bell peppers are on sale, then I'm going to make a lot more bell peppers this week. And that's how I've always kind of practiced in my life is like looking for the small ways that I can make things a little bit better, a little bit more efficient, and then it all adds up over time. And it actually makes you feel more empowered in your day-to-day life. In terms of budgeting, I was going to share my budget, but unfortunately, I didn't get to edit this PowerPoint because I didn't get off work till almost 8 p.m. yesterday, and then I went back at 5 a.m. this morning. So it's been a little bit of a quick turnaround. But I did go online today, and I think I looked up just college budget list, or college budget PDF. And I think that's where you should start. Start with something very simple because my budget is actually very complicated because a lot of it factors into like my percentage back on certain credit cards and like things like that. So I would say to start where you're at. So look up a budget based on where you are in your life right now. You can even ask like just type in college budget for someone that is currently unemployed, not seeking employment, but having this much money per month on average and see what comes up and be creative and be flexible. Okay, and then a big thing is saving. So even though you feel like, oh, I don't need to save money now, I'm young, learning how to save when you're young is going to make it so much easier when you're older. Okay, we can go to the next slide. All right, this is the big one. College, pre-med years, protect your future self. So a big thing, minimizing undergraduate debt. And this does come down to trying to go to state schools because that is where you are going to get the most bang for your buck, in that you are going to pay for the same education at a reduced price. And I can tell you that as someone who I went to UT Arlington, the state school near my house, and I was still helping my friend who went to Georgetown with organic chemistry homework because we were using the exact same textbook. So when I tell you, like, you need to be smart about where you go to school and why, and be smart about your priorities. In our realm of the medicine world, people don't really care where you went to school. Not truly. Like, you can get anywhere as long as you can prove your ability, your aptitude. And that's why we have standardized exams. The MCAT is extremely important if
Oh,
you're
by
in
the
the.
way, she became a DO and then she went to MD.
Oh, sorry. If we could just keep ourselves muted. But anyway, so yeah, and oh yeah, on that note too, like I went to a state DO school near my house, but it's also the cheapest medical school in the country, and I graduated debt free. And so now instead of staring at, like 240 grand of debt at 8% interest, which means you'll end up paying closer to 400 grand by the time you pay it off, if you're doing it on an average scale. Like if you're paying it off in waves over time, I'm debt free. So things like this that I was thinking about when I was in your shoes. I told myself, my dad told me too, like if you're going to go to medical school, I would prefer that you went to this one by the house. And it made complete sense to me because that was the most cost efficient way and the most empowering way for me to become a physician. But everyone's different. Okay. Biggest thing, borrow with a plan. Right now, the cap for loans is unreasonable because medical school does cost more than that. So a big thing that I did whenever I was in medical school, my first year, I did not have any scholarships. I think that's the thing. I tried to apply for the ones through my school, but they wouldn't go into effect until my second year. And so they did hit my second year, and I applied for all sorts of things. I even got a sustainability in medicine scholarship that I found online that I wrote a random essay for through a sustainability organization based out of DC. I was very creative and very aggressive with my applications, and then it added up because I only paid about 3 grand per semester out of pocket for medical school. So being aggressive and creative will take you far. And then over here on the right, everybody can do these things using your campus gym instead of paying for a membership. I did the same thing. I'm already paying for a membership through my tuition. Well, paying because I also went to undergrad on scholarship too, thank God. But yeah, if you're paying for your education and for those stipulations, those or not stipulations, for those privileges, then you should use them. So you should try to use your campus gym, your library, counseling services. I know nowadays it's a really big thing to have someone to talk to, and you don't necessarily need to have like a paid for person to talk to. We have resources in our community. Even we have free counseling through AMWPA. We have in-person options available in North Texas, and then we also, I'm sure, could arrange for online options if that's what we need to accommodate. So the biggest thing is trying to use resources that are readily available to you instead of creating a new financial barrier for yourself and your well-being. And then sharing housing. I lived with my 4 siblings, my mom and my dad, for most of my life. And, now I'm finally at a point where I'm making money and I was able to buy a home on my own. So it's these kinds of things that your future self will thank you for. Transportation, that's another thing you have to factor in. I mean, I commuted 30 minutes to and from school every day. That was doable for me, but maybe it's not doable for you. So it's about knowing yourself and your needs and your wants and knowing what is a need and a want. Okay. Alrighty. And then a big thing with credit cards, I put it here just because I know it's a itty gritty thing, but very important because some people already have cards. Never exceed 30% of your limit. Never open more than one line of credit in 6 months. And please, please, please never, ever fail to pay off your card in full each month. All of these things hurt your profile, your credit profile for the credit bureau. All right. Then we can go forward. All right. Core money habits for every stage. Spend less than you earn. That should be fixed in our minds because we're Muslims. And even if you're not a Muslim, it's a very common principle in most cultures to not spend beyond your means because we know that that leads to trouble. Avoid high interest debt. And I know that sounds confusing now because maybe that's not something that we've thought about. But looking at some of these credit cards, where if you don't make a minimum payment, which isn't the minimum payment that is on that card, it's actually a certain percentage in that credit contract that you signed, that you could end up owing an additional 30% of the original debt that you have accrued. So let's say you put $100 on a card, you don't pay that card off that month, and then you start accruing interest. Usually, most of these cards will say no interest for a year, no interest for 6 months. We'll say the 6 month mark has passed. Now we can accrue interest, so we can add on debt. So 30% of that $100 is $30, $33, and you'll be expected to pay $133, and that can keep compounding. So it's a very scary, scary place to be in. So do not let yourself fall privy to that. Save automatically. This is a big thing for me, is that I have fixed costs and I have a fixed budget for myself, a fixed spending money for myself. And that's the thing. Sometimes my spending money adds up and I'll tell myself, like, do I want to go ahead and throw this into the high yield savings account? Or do I want to maybe look at a trip or something like that for myself in the future? Because I've saved up my spending budget. And that's something you can think about too. But I think just giving yourself hard lines and giving yourself like a formula will make things so much easier. You won't have to worry, you won't have to think too hard. I even put alerts on all of my credit cards and I keep track of my expenses to make sure that I don't go beyond a certain amount of money each month because that's exactly how much money I'm willing to spend. And then just save, save, save whatever you can. And there are some months where I save much more, but I always save. I have a fixed amount that I have to save every month for my goals and a fixed amount that I have to invest every month for my goals. So just be very intentional. Treat it like the gym. And big thing, like I said, treat it like the gym, sleep, exercise, stress management. These are the things that people say you want something to live for. And we want to live for what we do in the world, but we also live for the beautiful things that we do. I mean, I have a whole personality outside of this weird, intense financial stuff. I love to paint. Right now, I'm working on this cardinal. And a little while ago, I did a this is my desk. I did a koala. I love animals. I love nature. I love photography. And I do little bits of my hobbies in waves because I don't have as much time now that I'm a resident, but I still make sure to be intentional. Like, I love to read. I used to read for an hour every night. And now, if I read 2 to 3 pages each night, that's something that satisfies me. So, yeah, just being very intentional with our needs and our goals. All right, let's go ahead and move forward. Next slide. Thank you. All right, big thing, the financial realities of med school. I put this sad cat gif because it is somewhat of a sad reality to be accumulating debt without the ability to make money necessarily. So, big thing, if you are taking out any kind of loan, even if it's a government unsubsidized loan versus a private loan, which God forbid you have to take out private loans, but if you are going to go down that path, please reach out to one of us so that we can see what we can do from literally any avenue to keep you from going down that path, okay? But borrow only what you need. I said this to friends. They said, "Oh, I'm just going to take out the max amount." That's what they want you to do. But oh, got low all of a sudden. Can you guys hear me? Okay, great. Take out the least amount of money possible. You know how much your rent is. You can calculate on average how much your electric is going to be, or you can ask your company even to calculate how much is it usually for a one-bedroom apartment in this area. You can call. So find out what your fixed costs are going to be for that 6-month period, because that's how often you take out loans is usually every 6 months, and take out the least amount of money possible. I know it's sometimes it's hard. I remember in medical school, I had classmates, like one whose dad flew her to Paris. And maybe that's something that's financially feasible for her. But it's not, you can't compare yourself to other people. You have to think, what am I able to do safely versus what other people are able to do? And don't try to keep up with other people. Don't try to keep up with brands. Do whatever is most comfortable and protective of yourself, your future, and your own sense of control and stability. That's my biggest advice. And I fully encourage you, please look up the difference between our federal loans and our private loans and all of the traps that private loans can put us into. And biggest thing is just live a modest lifestyle. You're a student, your goal is to learn, and you can still do some fun things here and there, but just to be smart about it. And please use that website. You'll learn all about these things. Okay. And next. All right, this one might not be, do we have any residents here? Well, even if we don't have residents, at some point you will be residents, and I'm watching people make mistakes right now, spending more money than they have. Like you guys see, I just got off of work. I just worked for 9 hours. I'll go back to work tomorrow, and I'm on call, so I'll be there till 5 tomorrow. And you get stuck in this, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to make a meal. I'm so tired, I don't want to have to go to pick up a meal. I see a lot of people doing Uber and DoorDash and things like that. And then what could have been like on average with meal prep, like a $4 to $6 meal max, like for a good dinner. And truthfully, like my meals, like I used to calculate this as well, but I used to try to keep my meals, like servings per meal prep, between $1 to $3. That's how meticulous I was before, and I still can be. But I kind of know my rhythms. I know uh, I've gotten my meal prep down, so these are the kinds of things that will become easier with time. But maybe it's not too bad to be meticulous right now at this point in your life when you're figuring things out, because then, like a $3 meal that is both healthy and nice. Like I made myself matlube and gyros because I make a lot of Arabic food for myself because that's what I spent time learning how to do. That same meal I spent with DoorDash would be $30-$40 with delivery costs. So it's these things that just add up over time that are going to completely deplete your cash flow. And I see it. I see people going into now like that interim between residency and working as an attending or fellowship, and they don't even have money to operate for those few months where they're not getting a paycheck. And it's very scary. So you shouldn't create a system where you're going to end up being dependent on someone in the future because you don't know what's going to happen in this life and if you're going to have someone to fall back on. So take a look at these tips and please try to create a budget and create a system that works for you early on so that you will be ready for the big changes that will come. So yeah, residency can be very misleading. Like I see, this is another big thing on the side here with the lifestyle tips. That's why I put it aside. Simple wardrobe. I tell people if you're accumulating things, you're actually just accumulating clutter, and that's going to make you less efficient. Like I have the same scrubs I wore in med school, and I haven't changed a thing, and I probably won't until I say until something isn't usable anymore. And that's kind of how I approach clothes too. If I get a new article of clothing, a new sweater, that one has to go. And that kind of life where you're living very simply, efficiently, and you're not accumulating things will actually help you to have a clearer mind. Okay, we can kind of move forward. Okay, this is a big thing, debit, credit, investing basics. So debit cards, a big thing with this is not spending money that you don't have. You should already have simple things on your bank account that you have to go and input, or hopefully someone else has done it for you, where you're not able to overdraw your account. Or you have a certain amount of money in your account to avoid a service fee. These are the hidden things that people do to chip away at your wealth and your financial security. And when I say people, I mean institutions. Because a lot of our institutions are not designed inherently to be helpful, but harmful. If you learn how to use them properly, then they can be helpful. Another big thing with credit, keep your utilization low, less than 30% per line of credit. Pay on time, which means pay it off every month. If you don't know if you'll be able to pay off your card, that means that you have the wrong costs on that card. I tell people, unless you're really, really careful, don't put your fun costs on a credit card. Make sure that's debit only. Only put fixed costs on a card in order to get used to it in the beginning. Things that you know that you can pay off. And check your credit report regularly. I check mine once a month. I know how my credit is affected by different things. I just recently learned how it's affected by buying a home, and that was terrifying, but that's also why I had worked so hard to get such a high score, is so that I would have competitive rates, and I would be giving competitive offers from lenders. And that was a big help with buying this home as well. Investing, starting with the basics. You will get a retirement account through your work. You're going to max that out. That is not a question. In terms of investing it, making sure that you're not having that money just sit in an account, you invest it in index funds. These are funds with 100 or so companies that are trusted, that are reviewed by our investing reporting entities, and they have to meet certain standards to stay in that index fund. You invest a proportion of your money in each one, and then you will get between 8 to 11% increase on average in an index fund. So that means that your money will grow and will continue to grow and compound over time. It is so powerful, and it will create a life for you down the line where you don't have to worry. this is what our parents dreamed for us, is to have not just wealth, but security. And this is where security comes in, as investment. Even the smallest contribution is better than none. So do what you can. If you are working right now and you're not making more than 150 grand a year, which I expect that you're not, you can invest in a Roth IRA, and I highly recommend that you do so. And I highly recommend going through that website I talked about earlier to learn about the different kinds of investment strategies and entities. Alrighty, and let's go ahead and move forward. Financial health is tied to our life habits. I tell people all the time that the reason, I mean, I'm a good worker. I've always been a good worker, but I became a stronger worker when I started prioritizing myself and specifically my body and my mind. So doing the things that bring me joy and being intentional about it. So like going, even like the way I used to pray, I would create it almost like a checklist. But now I look forward to those breaks when I can go pray during the day. Even in a busy work day, as long as it's not going to harm a patient, I will take a step away and I will pray, because I know that's something that I need to have the strength to take care of other people. So being intentional with prayer and with health. When I say health, I mean mental and physical. So we already talked about hobbies, social connections, keeping up with people, not like a job, but because we want to, right? Like being intentional. And then if it's a conversation that's draining, we don't have to go back to that. If someone is draining, you don't have to feel obligated to maintain that relationship. You can set boundaries. But if it's someone that you genuinely you think in your life, there's someone that grounds you, please be intentional about making time for that person, because you don't know how much you need them. With physical health, I know this one's kind of tough because everyone approaches physical health differently, but I say get a routine that is doable. If you can, do SMART goals. That's where I started. I used to be about 90 to 100 pounds heavier, and I was very physically unfit. And then I became very intentional about my nutrition, and my energy went up and my weight went down. And then I increased my activity as my energy went up with healthy foods. And now I have a set gym routine where, like for me, I enjoy weightlifting because that's what gives me energy. I know other people are more cardio driven. This might all sound like gibberish to you right now, because it was gibberish to me once upon a time. But start with something. Be like, I'm going to be someone that walks and does 10,000 steps every day. Oh, I don't have time to go to the gym. Get a walking pad. Well, I don't feel like using my walking pad. Walk around the couch. Make it a goal that has to be done if it's something that serves you and will help you to be able to fulfill your other goals. And I guarantee you, physical health is something that will help us. I only meal prep 1 or 2 days a week, and then I have my all three meals for the day. And granted, today I'm usually very good about not skipping my meals, but I had to skip lunch because of a patient emergency. But you can bet right after this, I'm gonna go heat up my lunch that I've been looking forward to all day, because I'm very intentional about my meals. Sleep, very important. I've missed phone calls from people I love because I was like, nope, I have to get ready for bed and I have to sleep tonight because I have a big day tomorrow. And the people who really care about you will understand. And then using calendar reminders and text reminders for everything. I am super guilty of this because I don't trust my memory, because I know that I'm in a high stress environment. So that's the first thing that goes, unfortunately, is your mind. I tell people I'm delirious all day. No, I'm kidding. But I use little text reminders. I have for all of my credit cards, for basically any line of credit. Even though I have automatic payments on, I'll say mortgage due in 2 days, pest control payment due in 3 days. It just alerts for myself to remind myself of upcoming payments, and then check credit score, check card balances. And I just have them set to repeat once a month, or however many times it needs to be repeated. I do that for whenever I have a cold. Like I had an animal bite about a week ago, and I had to remember to take Augmentin for my animal bite. And I set reminders, Q12, so every 12 hours, to remind me to take my medicine. So create systems that are impenetrable and that have fail safes, and then that'll serve you well. You don't have to do it all. That's why we do have technology, is to help us with these things. Don't let technology be the distracting part. So you got to be careful. But yeah, use technology where it can help us. And these systems will not only, I say, strong systems beat willpower, strong systems beat uh, anything. Creating something that is I want to say like impenetrable, but I mean, I've had, I guess, failures in my system due to outside forces. And guess what I did? I rebuilt. I rebuilt around whatever had happened, whether I was the loss of a loved one or a new financial burden that I had to rework my life around. You rebuild. So becoming creative early on so that you can adapt to those changes when they happen is so important. Alrighty, and then next. All right, these are some of our resources. Uh, White Coat Investor was a big one for me during medical school because I had never been introduced to it prior. So the podcast and the book. And then when I say your school's financial aid office, go there with general questions. Don't ask them, what should I do? Ask them, what resources are there? Because you don't need to know what you should do from this given individual with their own background and their own biases. That's why I wasn't trying to, in this presentation, give too specific advice. I want you to build a program. And I say program because I want this to almost be like a class that you build for yourself to teach yourself about your own financial wellness and what you need. So approach that the same way if you talk to outside parties. Don't ask them, what should I do? Ask them, what are the options for me to do at this point in time? And then make a decision based on your own needs. Okay? Alrighty. And next, our final takeaways. Start today. If you haven't already begun, start today. Start saving, start educating. So educate yourself about your different options and about the road ahead. About, if I make this decision, what will my life look like 10 years from now? Okay? So be very, very real with yourself about the impact of these decisions because they are life-changing. So I just want people to be aware and to be cautious. I tell people, every person you talk to, put a wall up in the beginning, which I know makes me sound paranoid, but maybe because I've been on the business side of the world and I've worked with a lot of different personalities. I've worked in the political sphere as well. And so maybe that's why I am the way I am. But I do think that it has served me. Like, you will see my soft side after I screen you. And until then, you will see this wall because I will not be fooled. And I want you guys to do the same thing. I want you to be skeptical. I want you to approach life with curiosity, with hope, but with preparedness. Okay? So build a life that protects your energy, not just your bank account. Okay. I can fix that link for us. No problem at all. All right, just 1 second. Anyone with the link? There we go. All right, I just fixed the permissions on that link for us. Okay, alrighty, and then we have some time. So do we have any questions, everybody? And you can ask me anything. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find someone who does. Okay? Oh, I see.
You should be able to unmute now if you want to try it.
Yeah. There we go.
So can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mariam.
Okay, so I had this question. I heard that year two medical students can actually teach year one medical students. Is that something that you did as well as a medical student?
No, I did not. They did not offer a paid TA position for us.
Okay. And then is it possible for us to invest in index funds like currently, like as medical students or as pre-medical students?
Yes, if you currently have literally any source of income and you are making less than $150,000 per year, you can go. I personally use Fidelity, but make your decision about which company you would like to use, so which investing firm you would like to use. And you can open a Roth IRA and you can invest the money from that Roth IRA into an index fund and grow that account over time. Yes. And you can even do that as a teenager. There's a specific type of Roth IRA for those under 18 years old.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. There are also accounts if you have not gone to medical school yet and you're maybe in a gap year, you can put money into an account to grow it while you're still in undergrad. And it is technically an education account called a 429 account. So look into this 429 account or education fund, and that is also a tax-free environment for you to put money towards education that will grow, and you are free to take out that money at any point in time to use for education purposes for yourself. If you do not end up using that money, you can turn that into an account for a dependent, so for your child in the future. So either way, that is money that can be used for good. Okay, any other questions?
I had a question about when you're applying for residency, or just like preparing your rank list. Were you looking at specific programs, or do you know of any, if it doesn't apply to you, when it comes to public service loan forgiveness, or even programs that you think are more strategic that we should keep in mind when it comes to, like you mentioned, employer matching,
Mhm.
or things like that?
Yeah, I asked that in every single residency interview. I asked what the employee match rate was for that specific year, and I believe UTMB was my highest because we put in 6% and they match almost 9. So that is a very competitive match, and that's reflective of the University of Texas because we're an affiliate. But yeah, looking at the match rates, I asked that in every single interview, and I included it as part of my spreadsheet that I used eventually for ranking. And then also the 403B. So that's an institution that is a nonprofit. They do so your earnings from that institution will qualify you for public student loan forgiveness. So if people aren't already aware, PSLF, Public Student Loan Forgiveness, is a program that right now is still in the transition, but you can still technically work. Like there are ways to work into that transition program. There was a lot of drama under the Biden administration, transition to the Trump administration, but people are still actively able to technically be on a list for making payments. So you make payments for 10 years, and then if you make those qualified payments for 10 years and you are in service to a government institution for 10 years, so that could be a nonprofit hospital most of the time for us. It doesn't have to be the VA. There's nonprofit hospitals in every single county. That's required. Well, not every single county, but every single major urban center county. Then those will be qualified payments, and you will be working on a qualified institution. So 10 years of service, 10 years of payments, and your debt is forgiven. And most people end up paying around 30 to 50 grand towards that, and then they end up getting a 150 to 250K forgiven. So it's an extremely important part of your residency ranking process if you do have loans. And in our case, even though I did not have loans, my husband did, or my fiance at the time, he had loans, and I told him we need to be at a PSLF institution to make sure we have this option available to us. And it'll be the same for fellowship.
If I
And did
remember
you have,
correctly,
Mhm.
sorry. Oh, sorry. I
if
was
I
just gonna,
remember,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if you had specific resources that you used in order to find those programs, or if you waited until you could interview with them and ask those questions directly.
So no, you can look up. That's public information whether or not an institution is designated a 403B. So that's public information, but it's going to be most county hospitals. Like if you're in the DFW area, Parkland or John Peter Smith Hospital. So these are hospitals that cannot refuse people.
I do remember reading that the PLFP, what you can also practice in like a what's it called, reservation, like a Native American reservation, and if you practice there for, I believe, like a decade, like you wouldn't have to pay off your loans anymore after that, because technically the government would do it.
Yes, that's true. The reservation hospitals or reservation institutions, and as well as VA. So all these are federal institutions, like federally designated institutions that are qualified under PSLF. Correct. How many people here already have a budget that is written down that they abide by? And I apologize, my cats are being cats. Does anybody here have a budget that is written down? And that's okay if you don't, but I encourage every single one of you to, yes, and on that's okay. After this meeting finishes, or just by the end of day today, give yourself a hard deadline, write down that budget. Okay? Very important. And then also, I would say, and I did this, I wrote down the life that I wanted whenever I was in college. And I've built my life around that story. And I can tell you, like, right now, I'm living it. So it works. Write down the story that you want and build towards it. Were there any surprise costs that you had not originally accounted for in your budget, whether for medical school or residency? Yes, I mean, for me, I had a big life event. I lost my father, and that's part of the reason why I had to work through medical school and support my family. And I had to rebuild my life around that, and it was very difficult. So I had to be very creative, and I learned a lot of the hard realities of debt. And that's why I'm so militant about protecting other people from it, because I've seen what it can do. Thankfully, you know, my dad taught me good practices when I was young, so I was able to evade a lot of scary things, but I've seen it destroy people. Uh, Other surprise costs that you need to be ready for is the cost of applying to school, which I know they talk about, but make sure you have money set aside, saved for that. Please, if you can, do not put that on a credit card because it is going to be astronomical. It is a large expense. Applying to residency is extremely expensive as well. Please be prepared for that cost. Be prepared if you're applying for a specialty that requires in-person interviews. Be prepared for all the travel cost. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm happy to share. So just it get word of mouth. I mean, I still listen to other people, but take it with a grain of salt and try to get a consensus and then make your own decisions from the voices that you've talked to. Because you'll hear a lot of misleading things, and you'll hear a lot of people that make it sound like they have things so easy, but it is so hard, and it's okay that it's hard. Just know that everyone else is also going through it, and that people that play off these transitions. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you guys. People that play off these transitions is no big deal or just kidding themselves. This is tough, and that's why we have our community. That's why we have this organization so that you guys do not have to do this alone. So please, I'm going to drop my number here. Text me anytime. I will text you back or I will leave a voice note because I've started to do that because I've lost the ability to type. Yes, WhatsApp is perfect. Please save my number, guys. Let me know if you need anything. I've done personalized budgets with people too. I've done one-on-ones, and I don't mind that either. We can go through it together, and I'll give you my honest opinion about what I think is best for you, and then at the end of the day, you make your own decisions. We can make a plan together.
Does anyone have any other questions?
The situation where residents could negotiate with hospitals so like the hospital could pay off part of their student loans. I don't know if that's something that you've experienced or you've come across.
So not in the state of Texas. I know what you're talking about, but so residents don't have the same in the state of Texas specifically. We don't have the same liberties as other states. For example, in New York State, residents are protected by unions, and they get all kinds of protections and stipulations from their union to not just protect their time, but to protect their pay, to protect their meals, to protect transportation. That is not so in the state of Texas. So the state of Texas is a little bit hostile, truthfully, towards residents, but the payoff will be worth it in the end. Yeah. We are not allowed to unionize. It is in our contract. I told some people at work that because they're like, we should unionize. And I was like, because we're all over capped right now. I was like, guys, this is the result of closing rural hospitals. Everyone's going through it. And also, we're legally not allowed to unionize. So keep your voice down.
Mhm. And then, is there like a specific phrase for the is there like a specific phrase for the like a contract negotiation, or is that just?
So no, you don't negotiate resident contracts. There's no
Oh,
negotiation.
sorry, I meant like outside of Texas. Is there like a specific phrase for
It's not
contract negotiation?
it's not negotiated at the individual level. It's negotiated through unions, and this is specifically for the Northeast. I'm not really aware of the system on the West Coast as much because I didn't look at those programs as much. But I can try to get that information and drop some information in the chat, like in our WhatsApp group. But in my experience, there's not a lot of room for negotiation just because of the way residency is designed and the way the NRMP, so the program through which we apply for residency, is designed.
Okay, thank you so much.
I tell people it's a feudal system. Feudal? It's a feudalistic system, unfortunately. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. If you have any lingering questions, please feel free to text me, okay? All right.